Hi everybody, Sarah, the Real Simple Mama here. I'm going to do a quick demo video on how I'm planning to help a hen who I think is egg bound. And so this is not going to be a graphic video, and it also won't be the most detailed in the world, but it's going to be a quick introduction to how to help a hen who you think might be egg bound, what you can do to help her, and kind of what's going on. So a hen of laying age, unfortunately, due to different factors, some breeds, some ages of birds, you can be more susceptible to something that's called egg bound. And the concept, very briefly, is that a hen, even though she's laying usually one egg a day, right, for maybe 4, 5, 6 days a week, she doesn't have just one egg developing in her body at the same time. She really has like at least 15 that are all in different stages of the assembly line, if that makes sense, starting from like the yolk is starting to form all the way until like we're almost ready to lay the egg. It's getting the shell put around it, it's hardening, it's getting the correct color as it's going through the printer and all of that kind of stuff. So a hen who is egg bound means somewhere in that reproductive process, usually towards the end, there's been a jam, like a traffic jam. And so her body doesn't stop trying to produce eggs every day, but she's not able to lay them. And there's a couple of different things you can have. There's just been some kind of blockage. It could be a cleanliness thing. It could be that worst case scenario would be like an egg has broken inside of her. And so the reason I suspect that going on with Calypso, who is the hen in your shot, you know what, I'm gonna move around because I hate seeing my shadow. It's so amateur. Calypso is 4.5 years old, so she's getting to be a little bit of an older hen. She's a black sex link. And I'm noticing that she doesn't feel good for a couple of different reasons. Number one, her comb is down. And she was pale earlier, but her color has returned. But her comb is flopping to the side. Her tail is down, which is a universal sign that your chicken is in pain. They're really hurting. They don't feel good. Something's off. And then she hasn't been able to walk. She isn't totally immobile. She's kind of flopping around, but certainly not acting like a normal chicken. Now, I have gotten her to eat from me picking her up and doing a quick medical check. And you can see my demonstration here of how I check. But, you know, she doesn't have mites or lice, anything like that. But in feeling her undercarriage going towards the back, it does feel like she's very soggy and feels very full towards the back as we get underneath her vent or her cloaca. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the things out that I need to basically clean her up and give her a good soak. What I'm going to recommend, it's not invasive. There's no chance that you're going to hurt anything or make anything worse. It's probably not going to be like a cure-all, like, oh, I did this once and she's back to 100%. But the goal is for me to clean her up, for me to get her in a soak so I could get all of the dirty, like poopy feathers off of the back of her. I can get her clean, and that way I can kind of see if there's anything else that I can be doing or checking on her. So I'm going to go back around the other way. And when in doubt, soak your chicken in an Epsom salt bath. You want the temperature to be just a little bit warmer than room temperature. It is summer here in San Antonio, so this water is just room temperature. And I've got a whole bunch of Epsom salt soaking in there. Honestly, I don't really worry about measuring it out. I'm pretty liberal with it because they're not going to be ingesting it. But Epsom salt is a great, great way to help with achy muscles, to help get a wound clean, to help with inflammation. It's awesome for humans and for our chickens. So what I'm going to do is I have clean towels. I'm going to try to sit her in here for a good at least 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So I'm going to be sitting down. I'm going to hold her so that her booty, her vent, and her cloaca are in the water. And then I'm also going to be gently cleaning the feathers that are underneath her vent just to get any of that stuff off of her. Without going into a lot of detail, if you've got a hen who's acting like that and their back end is really dirty, you can also look at the health of their vent and see if it looks like it's been prolapsed. So something that's on the outside should really be on the inside. That's a much more delicate matter. That's a lot more of an intrusive process. So I know she doesn't have that. And I don't think she has vent gleat, which is another condition you can look up that I also have never had to treat. It's more of kind of like a yeast infection to where their droppings that are coming out of them are like just really nasty. They stink. I'm confident that either she's just feeling sick because of, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think it's just a molt, but in what I know and what I've experienced, she doesn't have anything respiratory going on. It doesn't feel like a situation where she's got worms or any type of external parasites like mites or lice. I do feel like she's egg bound. So what we're going to do is we're going to soak her which again, it's not going to hurt anything. You're not going to, you know, it's not like you're medicating and then you realize you did the wrong medicine. There's no risk here. So I'm going to soak her so that I can kind of see what's going on. I can kind of feel for her. I'm going to clean her backside, and if I need to cut some feathers, then I will cut those. Couple of notes. Again, don't worry about how much Epsom salt. When in doubt, like add a little bit more. She's not going to be drinking this, so I'm not worried about the measurements being exact. That's just me. I'm going to have towels to make sure that I don't let her get chilled after I get her out of the water so that I can check. Tick, 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 ticks. And then in my case, I'm probably going to trim some of those feathers underneath her vent just to help her stay clean. So a nice soak, you want to do it for at least 10 minutes, up to 20 if you can, if they'll sit there for that. And then we'll see what's going on with Callie. Really briefly, we've been sitting here for about 5 minutes. So of course, if you get her feet or her tummy or her, like, you know, around her breastbone wet, that doesn't really matter. Again, you don't want them to get overheated. You don't want them to get super chilled. So just room temperature. I'm going to continue to watch and make sure she's not panting or she doesn't get pale, because that'll be an indication the water was too warm. So I've been letting her sit for a minute. Part of it is, honestly, if your chicken is, if they're acting this badly to where they can't really walk, their legs are splayed out, their wings are out, and they're kind of laying on the ground, number one, you know things are really bad, because remember, chickens will always try to hide injury and illness so they don't look like the weak one of the flock and they need to be kicked out. But number two, it also means that she may not have been drinking as much water or eating as much as she should have. I did give her food this morning to make sure that she was able to eat. I'm going to get her some water just for herself before I put her up to bed after this is done. But also, I mean, she's still pooping regularly. So since she can't move around, she's really messed her, you know, the feathers underneath her and then back under the vent. So I'm not going to show you anything graphic. Honestly, if she's egg bound, there's not really anything for you to see except for what looks like a swollen pouch, like, you know, back behind their legs, like underneath their vent. It just looks, you know, it just looks bulgy, but there's not really anything else to see. So I'm not going to show you anything. As she's been sitting here for a while and some of that poop that was dried on her gets softened, I have one hand that's staying clean and one hand that's staying dirty. And that way I can start massaging some of that stuff off of her after she's been soaking. But I mean, she's calm. She's kind of like, oh man. But hopefully this Epsom salt is going to start helping with inflammation, and it'll help me clean everything up so I can see what's going on. Okay, so we're out of the bowl of shame. Now I'm going to clean her up. So all of that poop that was on her is now softened, so I need to get her cleaned up. I did dump out the Epsom salt water, so sorry, I keep forgetting where my camera is. So none of the chickens are going to try to drink it, so I'm going to get her as clean as I can. I can see she's swollen down underneath her vent to the point that, you know, you can see bare skin through the feathers, right? Because the feathers only can cover so much. So I am confident that it is egg bound. There are ways where you can try to massage the area, like gently towards the back, almost kind of like you're gently trying to squeeze out the last toothpaste in a tube. I'm going to do that very gently, but I don't want to push it, literally. You can also put like Vaseline on your ungloved fingers and try to like go internally. I'm not comfortable doing that. Certainly if you get to this point, you can always take them to a vet as well. What I'm going to do is make sure that she has some clean water to drink. I'm going to put her in my isolation pen, the little coop over here from a V2N. I'm going to put her in that for the night by herself, so she's alone and she's got her food and water and everything right there without having to go very far. And then I have fingers crossed that hopefully this is going to work itself out. It may be a normal egg that she ends up laying. It may be like a weird like lash egg, or like a shellless like monstrosity, you know, some kind of abomination. But really at this point, I just want it to get out of her system. She is pooping, which is a good sign, because it means that it's sort of like, you know, their intestines and then their reproductive system, both, everything comes out through the vent or the cloaca. So if we've got at least one thing coming out, then that's better than her not being able to poop at all. So I'm going to clean her up. I'm going to leave her alone for the night, and then we'll see how she is tomorrow. All right, so she's all cleaned up. I can definitely see some swelling right about in there. It's soft, which is a good sign. And again, she's been pooping, so that's a good sign too. She's got food and water right there without her having to move. She's safe for the night. She's locked up. She's secure. Miss Muffet just got let out of quarantine, so we'll see if her behavior has been remedied. But I'm hoping that either in the night or in the morning that Calypso is able to lay an egg. Again, I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I'm hoping that it's going to be okay. I did massage her from this angle, like front to back, very gently. And the Epsom salt should really help relax those muscles and help it be easier for her to pass it. So fingers crossed.